Welcome back to Read the Tape. It's a new season and the world has changed dramatically. Season 1 was all about learning how people were successful, their take on the world, their thought process, and I thought that was fantastic. However, season 2 is more of a classroom environment. Yes, I will have guests. Yes, I will be talking with people, asking their opinion. Yes, I want to hear what their views are, how they've become successful. However, season 2 is really based on my interpretation of reading the tape in today's environment, in today's social media driven environment, in today's environment where everything is so split. It's like two parallel universes operating at the same time. So season 2 is about how do you read the tape? How do you become successful? How do you navigate this socially? How do you navigate this for business? How do you navigate this world that we're in, which is generated by massive amounts of AI and also social media? So that is season 2. And I'll be taking lots of questions. And I'm going to attempt to do a live Zoom call, which I've been successful at in the past. So you can all call in live and we can talk on air. If you're new here, please check out season 1. I had a lot more hair. Maybe with the use of AI, they could put hair on my head. So maybe when you see this, you'll see a lot more hair. So anyway, welcome back. To kick off season 2, I've compiled a list of questions from all over the world. The first question that I have, which I think is the most relevant right now, considering what's going on in the world, is do you think the world is actually more unstable now, or do we just hear about it more because of social media? This is an amazing question. This is fantastic. Why is it? So all of you are saying, yeah, it's just polarized and everything's, changed. It seems unstable. All I ever hear is instability. What do you think really is happening? Do you think it's more unstable, less unstable? I think it's actually the same. I think what's changed is the way we consume media, the way we interact with one another, the way we communicate to one another. Remember, all communication, has always been a business. Newspapers are a business. They have to make money. Social media sites are a business. They have to make money. Google is a business. They have to make money. ChatGPT is a business. Claude is a business. They're all looking to do what? What does everybody want when they're consuming or putting out information that may be your view of being less stable? They want eyeballs. They want your input. They want you to be looking at it. Isn't that correct? So what's happened? What's changed in the world today? What's changed is the ability to capture data points. What's changed is that they can see everything that you're doing. I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist. This is not about conspiracy. I don't believe there's a conspiracy at large. I think it's all businesses want customers. And businesses are going to do everything in their power to get as many customers as possible. So what's happening today is because in your digital life, for the most part, all of us are on digital devices. It is capturing information, and then it's feeding back through algorithms, through artificial intelligence, what they perceive as you want to see. Exactly that. And why do they want to do that? Because they want to sell you things. They want you to watch it. They get numbers, they get money, and this is what it is. It's all about business. It has always been about business. There's something about a conspiracy here. We all want to make money. So what do you do with this information? Well, the information, because we all have what we scroll, what we look at, what we email, what we are talking about, we all have interests, wants, needs, thought process, and we're getting that biofeedback. It's like the whole world is not thinking like me. The whole world is thinking like them or such and such. So no, it's not less stable. It's the same. There's a theory, and I am not an historian by any measure. I've taken a lot of classes in history and I find it fascinating and I read a lot. However, by theory, there are two camps. If I have this correct, someone's going to correct me here. One is history always repeats itself. Okay. The other theory is everything always evolves. I think it's kind of in between. However, the evolution of history is really the tools that we have. So it's evolving because of tools. But to have people really changed? No. So that's why I'm saying people are always seeking out stability. I want peace. That's the greatest thing ever. The greatest gift is peace. The greatest gift is everyone is wealthy. The greatest gift is everyone is healthy, right? So everyone is pursuing these things. So yes, there seems to be less stability, but the reality is it's really a business creating this. And I'm not being conspiratorial. So what do you do? What's the nugget that you want to get out of it? What do you do? How do you change this? So why don't you experiment to see if I'm wrong or I'm right? Why don't you experiment the what you input into your social media? Why don't you experiment what you're consuming on your social media? Why don't you experiment with you're asking your ChatGPT? Why don't you experiment with what you're shopping for on Amazon? Why don't you experiment with things like, I'm not really interested in it? See what happens. See, are you getting a different point of view? Are you seeing something different? And see if I'm right or wrong. My guess is you're going to get fed different things. They'll think that you are looking at something else. They want to continue to have your eyeballs. They want to continue to have your attention. And so subsequently, they're going to effectively change the algorithm to fit what they perceive as what you will watch the most. Once again, this is a business. This isn't a bad thing. I am not somebody who's going to run out and say, social media, all this is terrible. I think it's an incredible tool. I use it. I think AI is an extraordinary tool. I use it almost every day. These are wonderful tools that do wonderful things. The same token, stop listening to your own biofeedback loop. You are literally listening to yourself talking. Start looking at other things. Start reading other newspapers, start consuming other entertainment, start consuming other things, and you'll get probably a more balanced view. And then you probably have the same conclusion that I have, which is it's not less stable, it's the same. And you perhaps see and perhaps be able to take this nugget and change your perception of not being so negative and being much more positive. A positive outlook on the world, a positive outlook on all of these social media sites, a positive outlook on trying to create what you want for your business, your social life, or whatever you're trying to accomplish in a positive way. However, there's a caveat to all of this, and that is there seems to be a lot more violence in the world. That is not, I don't think that's just because we have more reporting of it. I think there is more violence. And why is that happening? I don't have the answer to that. I have some feelings about it. And so what I will do is bring in a guest that's an expert in why is it becoming more violent. The last thing I want to see is violence. The last thing I want to see is horrors and all these things that you're reading about or seeing on the news. I mean, that's just absolutely despicable. So we need to learn is some of the things that we talked about that are so positive in social media and so positive in AI and so positive in the world of communication and capability are some of these destructive forces that are creating more violence. That bothers me. I am not an expert and I want to bring in an expert on that and hear what their take is. So I cannot really comment on that effectively. However, that probably is the negative of what's happening today, probably. I'm sure many of you are going to write in and tell me all of the other negatives, and you have every right to do that. And that's the world we live in, where we all can have opinions and we can all express our opinions in a positive, nonviolent way. And that's what we talk about as far as the benefits of social media, the benefits of the wonderful country we live in where you can express your views. Next question. This is a good one. It feels like everyone's angry about something these days. How do you stay grounded and not get pulled into all the negativity? Well, this pretty much dovetails right back to what we were talking about before, right? We talked about, the biofeedback, all this negative behavior. I mean, you're feeding yourself negative behavior. So let me talk about a little story, and we're all guilty of this. Everyone is. There's nobody that's that confident, maybe. I would like to meet this person. You get 100 compliments, 100 compliments. I like the way you look. Your hair is amazing. Look at your shoes. Look at the book you've written. Your speech was amazing. Oh, I love the way you walk. I like whatever compliments, whatever industry you're in, whatever you're doing. You're filled usually with people saying positive things. People don't usually walk around and say negative things. Well, maybe some people do, because it's actually funny, which is exactly why we gravitate to the one negative. So you get 100 great things that's said to you, 100 great things happen to you, and one negative thing happens to you. One negative comment, one negative thing. And what do you focus on? What do you focus on? The one negative thing. That's it. That is something that you need to break. That is something you need to learn how to filter that noise. If all of the things that are happening are negative, if everything that you're getting, all the feedback you're getting, if you're not succeeding, at anything, socially, emotionally, business, well, then that's a wake-up call that, the same line of saying, if you're expecting a different result from the same action, that's where you need to learn to change your actions and to really effectively change what you're doing on a daily basis. But you cannot focus on the one negative. So why is everyone angry? What's going on? Anger sells. Negative sells. This is, again, about business. If I come out to you right now and I say, oh, I'm amazing, and if I don't say it in a funny way, and usually I'm quite self-deprecating. So if I say, I'm just incredible, I'm a super genius, everything I do is just perfect, that's not interesting. You change the channel. You should change the channel. I would immediately, whether or not I have hair, okay? So if I say to you something negative, I'm terrible at this, I don't do this right, or I'm funny looking, or I make fun of myself, or whatever, what are you going to watch? So negative sells. It's kind of a strange juxtaposition. If negative sells, why are we all pursuing all this positive, right? Negative sells, all of the reality shows. They're looking for fires, not literally. They're looking for people to break down, relations to bust. Even after these dating shows, they're like, oh, it's like the perfect love story. They can't wait for it to bust. It's not real. So what are you going to do with this information? Well, it's to your benefit to take this information and understand, I want to be positive. I want the things to come out correctly, but also to take in the information knowing that when there's negative things happening to you, you cannot look at the one negative when there's 99 positive. So that information you need to compile for yourself in order to navigate the world that you're trying to succeed in order for you to be effective at whatever you're trying to do. So I hope this makes sense, all of you, in terms of what is necessary. What are the nuggets that you're getting out of this? Take stock of yourself, take stock of the negative behaviors, take stock of the positive input, and understand that you're always going to be fed negative because it sells, and we're all in business, okay, no matter what you're doing. In fact, I always say this funny thing about, personal, or I always say this thing, everyone people talk about this thing, the common thread, it's just business, it's not personal. Well, if I have never heard of such a big bull line in my life, there is no such thing as it's not personal. It's all personal, okay? I am so tired of people hiding behind this, it's not personal. It always is, because business is generated by humans. Humans are personal by nature, and that's the way it is. I mean, what are we all, is it AI so advanced right now? It doesn't matter. These decisions are not made by people. What is AI anyway? AI is just a biofeedback mechanism. It's just taking in all the information and feeding back to what more rapidly than we can process it. So this is really interesting stuff that you need to think about in your day-to-day for you to navigate to get to what you want to do, whether you want to make more friends, whether you want to be a bigger business, whatever you want to accomplish. Even if you're retired, okay? Even if you're not trying to engage, the reality is you want friends and you're selling something, you have to get positive input. Nobody wants to be around somebody that you don't want to be around. You do not want to have any interaction, even if you're retired. Anyway, I can go on and on and on and bore you to pieces with this, but this is another nugget I'd like you to take out of this, or reading the tape. There's positivity with negativity, isn't there? Think about that for a moment in time. If we know that people gravitate to negativity because it's what sells, right, rather than positive, what are you going to do with that? So if you get the one negative or the two negatives or the five negatives, that means people are paying attention to you. If people are paying attention to you, you're actually accomplishing the goal. So don't look at all negative input as negative. It's positive. There's that old saying that says no such thing as bad press. It's probably pretty true within reason. Some bad press you don't want, okay? So I think you have to take this all in concert. Your world that you exist in today, all of these feedback loops that you're in, all of this stuff is so rapid. You're getting input from others rapidly. It's faster and faster and faster. That's changed in human history. The speed in which one communicates, the speed in which one gets input back, the speed in which you can do things is rapid, more is more quickly being disseminated. So that's changed dramatically. So even though I'm talking about not listening to negative when you get all this 100 positive things and one negative, the reality is that it's good because it really accomplishes the goal of selling. Someone's listening. Next question. This one's a doozy because this actually kind of dates me here. You've been through market cycles and big shifts before. What's one pattern you're seeing now that reminds you of a time we've seen before? Great question. I hate answering it because everything is cyclical, as we've discussed earlier. Does history repeat itself? 100%. The tools change, the way we speak changes, the way we communicate changes, but history repeats itself. So yes, if we're talking about purely market cycles, there's nothing new. It's just market cycles. We will have the same types of market cycles we've had in the past. There will be recession. There will be huge economic gains. There will be social changes. We are going through these cycles. If you look back in history, in all the history that we can see, is constantly this repetitive behavior that we've gone through. So yes, what do you do with that information? This is a critical piece of read the tape. So read the tape is about situational awareness. It's about reading the room. It's about reading the world. It's about reading what's happening in your life. So what's the best way to learn other than reading my book? Sorry, there's another plug. But the best way to do this is to read history, is to look at history, to look at what's happened in the past. If it's happened in the past, it's more likely to happen in the future, right? So if you learn from the past, the old story, you're repeating the same mistakes, the same over and over and over again. Are we destined for that? Do we learn from that? Of course we learn that from that. We try to change things, but we always find other ways to repeat history and figure out ways to try to stop that sort of repetitive behavior. But we seem to never learn, and I don't want to be controversial. However, we don't seem to learn sometimes from our past cycles. So yes, I've seen a lot of these cycles before. Some of them I've not seen. I'm not that old. However, if you read history, you can see these patterns or these cycles. So what do you do with that information? What is the nugget of information? How do you get something positive out of it rather than me giving you biofeedback of negativity, right? What are you going to do with that? Well, if history is repeating itself and there are cycles, you want to ride the cycle. You want to read the tape to ride the cycle. Which direction is the market going? Which direction is social behavior going? Which direction are people moving to? Where are people interested in real estate? What are people interested in food? Whatever it is you're doing or trying to accomplish, what is the cycle? Where are we at in the cycle? Study history and don't be on the wrong side of that cycle. There's a saying, I was a trader for a long time, and I guess I still do that, is that effectively, you don't want to get in front of the train. So if the train is going a certain direction, you're not going to change the direction of the train. It takes a long time. So get on board, okay? That is how you read this nugget or read the tape. Get on board that trend line. Get on board that cycle. It's not negative. Yes, it's hard. Yes, things repeat. But that's okay because you can take advantage of that. You can take advantage of what that means. So study that. Study history. And read that book, my book. The best thing I could do is talk about repetitive history and market cycles. Markets are an expression of people's emotional mood, and it's an expression of the way people feel. Economics is as much of a social science, and markets are as much of a social science as they are a math or an exact science, okay? So why is it that we have recessions? What happens? Because we can't stay positive for that long. So there's recession is almost self-fulfilling. It just cycles. Oh, it's gone up too much. Of course, there are data and statistics, and clearly statistical analysis have been built on past cycles, built on history, saying, oh, this is too far. Like right now, it's too far because it's built on past cycles. How far will a stock go based on its earnings? What are you paying for when you're buying a stock? But some of this has been sort of carved up. You talk about these meme stocks. It's a classic example. Meme stocks are a classic example of where emotional behavior is moving markets. The market is a reflection of society's thought process of where it's at. So that is the cycle. So an example of this is the up and down of the stock market. An example of this is the up and down of a housing market. Almost all of us have houses or want houses or like to be in the real estate market, and everyone is, when they're trying to buy, they're all waiting for the market to crash, and they're in that market, they're already like, oh, no, it's not going anywhere, it's just going up. But it's always cyclical. And yes, of course, there are mathematical equations associated with this: interest rate, cost of money, how many people are renting, what is the driver, what is the population? Of course, there's lots of math behind it, but ultimately, weirdly, it still has that social, emotional context. So once again, you need to study history and study these cycles. Where are we in the cycle? Will it always go up? No. Will it go down? Yes. Will it go back up? Yes. So these are within the framework of math, science, and also emotion. We are a highly emotional species, and we cannot stay positive for too long, which is a really funny thing to say. Because how many of you have been in situations where you're around somebody and all they are is positive, 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 positive? Doesn't it get kind of annoying? It does, doesn't it? It's kind of funny. It's the same concept. Or how many of you have seen people where they never seem to lose? It's almost like whatever they do, whether in sports or entertainment, it's like, this is unbelievable. You start not liking them. It's like, are you kidding me? It's like, this is amazing. I'm not going to bring up these names because I'll get in trouble, okay? But the end result is that it's the same thought process. So think about that. You want to beat that out. You want to understand that. You want to win in these situations. Think about why this is happening. Think about the emotional context and the math. Put them together and you win. The best traders, those are the people who use the market. The market is an expression of humanity, are the ones that read the tape. They read and get on the train, and they get on the train until it's slowing down. And when it's slowing down, what do? You get off the train and you wait for it to switch again. So, pardon the metaphor, but that's pretty effective. Okay, last question. This is the last one I'm going to answer today, but I have a ton more questions. This question is, so many people I know are just checking out. They say, I can't deal with this world anymore. What's your advice for someone who has lost their drive? So really the question is, let's break this question down. What do you do? Like, I just can't move. I just can't, there's no drive. What do? You get your drive back by doing things that you like to do. Okay, of course, there are things we do on a daily basis that we don't like to do. Okay, I'm not saying that you like to do everything you do all during the day. That's an absurd comment. But drive, passion, instinct, you get that back from doing things that what do you like to do? So the question you have to ask yourself is, are you in a place where you're doing what you like to do? Are you in a place where you're in your lane, which is part of the book? Are you doing something that you're good at? Are you doing something that you want to be good at? Are you doing something that you're feeling it, you have passion for it, you want to pursue it? That's the driver. If you don't have that, of course you're going to wake up in the morning and like, not today, I don't want to do this, whatever. So the question really is, how do I move forward? How do I get out of bed? What do? You do things that you enjoy doing. And the only way, if you say, okay, I can hear the answer right now. The answer is like, I don't know what I enjoy. In fact, many people said this to me. They'll say things like, can you help me? I'm miserable. I'm not doing things I like. And I'm like, well, what do you want to do? First thing you're going to ask, first thing anyone would ask. And they can't answer that. Well, if you can't answer that question, then you need to find out the answer to that question. And the only way you're going to find out the answer to that question is by trying other things, by getting out there, by doing things, by reading, by engaging, by going out, by talking to as many people as possible, by reading as many things as possible, by engaging in the world that you live in, the world that you think you want to live in. That is the primary way to learn to get out of your own sort of negative feedback. Take classes, engage in a sport. I can't tell you how important it is to have physical activity. Do something. You invariably meet somebody that intrigues you. I always say, and it's in the book, that you're only one person away from greatness. And that's the truth. You're one person away from you personally being great, or one idea. So engage with everyone. Take every meeting. talk to as many people as you possibly can. That's how you get out of that negative loop. That's how you get out of bed. That's how you get your drive back. Do things you want to do. That was the last question of this episode. I can't wait to come back with another episode and answering more questions. So with that in mind, this show is only going to be as good, this is a good one, as the listeners that ask me questions. See, if this fails, I'm putting it all on you. So DM me, Shapiro Method, on any of these platforms, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, whatever you'd like to do is direct message me. Please ask me questions, because that way I can make the show better and better and more informative, and it'll be more fun for you to watch, enjoy, and hopefully learn. And I learn from you. In fact, the more questions I get, the more I learn from you, and it's really, the interaction is really fantastic. I love it. Thank you so much for listening, watching, wherever you're consuming your media. I really appreciate it. We're on every single platform, and even those that haven't been invented yet. Maybe I can invent one. It'll be good. All right. Thank you again.